A Vatican spokesperson has announced he is stepping down with little explanation. As we prepare to ring in the new year here in Madison, New York's finest are charging up drones to patrol Times Square celebrations.
This is News 3 at noon.
Happy New Year's Eve, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Danica Lewis in for Mark Kane for News 3 at noon. Now, today is an alert day for a mix of freezing rain and snow. Let's turn it right over to Chris Reese with a look at your first alert forecast. It's just going to be kind of messy out there.
It really is going to be messy. We're watching that mess come together right now, Danica. The storm is forming right on top of us. You see that wintry aspect just to our north and west. Rain to the south. That includes us here in Madison. And unfortunately, folks, it is a pretty cold rain that we are tracking out there. The temperature is only 33, but that snow just to our north along with freezing rain in between it. Some heavier rain off to the south. This is just looking over the area. And again, 33 right now, 1 degree away. That could have been snow.
Napping weather, Chris. Napping weather.
Napping weather. Now, here's the deal. As we go through the rest of today, some of that colder air is going to come in. Here's 3:30. You see things changing over to sleet and freezing rain, eventually over to some pretty heavy snow that's going to come down for about an hour or two between about 5 and 7 o'clock, and then just keeping some of that lighter snow around all the way through 9 before tapering to flurries at 12 a.m. But when that snow comes down on a ground that's wet, you're going to flash freeze any water that's on the road. So we are looking at a pretty hefty ice up later on today. In terms of how much snow we can see, that's what I'll be breaking down coming up in just a couple minutes.
And that's what makes it so dangerous.
That is really what makes it dangerous. The snow isn't bad, but when you put ice underneath it, you have problems that are common in Kentucky, for sure.
And in Wisconsin,
yes,
unfortunately.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Chris.
Anytime.
So we want to start the news overseas, where the Vatican spokesperson and his deputy have resigned this afternoon. A brief Vatican statement did not explain why spokesman Greg Burke was leaving, but Burke tweeted that he had to quit to let Pope Francis appoint a new team in what was, quote, a time of transition. Now, this comes as the Catholic Church deals with criticism for slow responses to allegations of sexual abuse. Burke is a former journalist for Fox News and joined the Vatican back in 2012. His resignation is effective tomorrow. New at noon, Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren is taking a pretty significant step toward running for president in the year 2020. She announced in a video this morning that she is starting an exploratory committee ahead of an expected campaign for the Democratic presidential nomination. Senator Warren also outlined her plans for economic equality, government accountability, and reining in big corporations. Warren is the first Democrat with a national profile to take formal action toward a presidential campaign.
The wall has become a metaphor for border security. I've never been more encouraged. If we can get people talking, we can find our way out of this mess.
So that's Republican Senator Lindsey Graham talking about a bill to end the partial government shutdown. We are now in the 10th day of parts of the federal government not having been running at full capacity. House Democrats have released details on a spending bill, which does include $1.3 billion for border security. However, the president continues to demand Congress approve $5 billion for a wall at the U.S.-Mexico border. Investigators in Racine County are working to determine why a woman was found dead in her car in Lake Michigan over the weekend. Someone called 911 early Sunday morning to report seeing a vehicle floating in the water. Divers found the car 8 feet down after the current pushed it away from the shoreline. They were able to get the 30-year-old woman out of the car but could not revive her. Her name has not been released. Officials in Sauk County are reminding people to drive sober this New Year's Eve after one person was injured in an ATV rollover crash over the weekend. This happened just before 5 yesterday on County Road P, west of the interstate in the town of Delona, that is. Now, the caller, who was also driving the ATV at the time, reported a man was pinned under that overturned ATV. Then he was able to pull the man out before first responders arrived. Investigators determined both men had been drinking before the crash, and both were cited. We do want to remind you about the options for a safe and sober ride home if you're celebrating New Year's Eve. Metro buses will be offering free rides from 7 to 9 until 3:30 tomorrow morning. The city's cab companies are running as usual, and Uber and Lyft also have promo codes available to help bring down the surge pricing.
If you think of how many drunk drivers that takes off the road, it's incredible, and how many lives you probably saved over the years.
So that's the owner of Christie's Landing. It's about one of the about 200 bars in Dane County offering a free cab ride tonight. The bar's owner estimates the Safe Ride program will provide 4,000 rides in Dane County alone this year. Bartenders at Wisconsin Tavern League establishments simply fill out a voucher for you and call you a cab free of charge. We have the information on the Safe Ride options over on channel3000.com. All right, let's take a look this afternoon in New York City, where crews are making their final preparations for the New Year's Eve ball drop in Times Square. You can see people already gathering for that. Now, Tom Hansen has more on the new security measures they're taking this year.
The barricades are up, the crowds gathering in New York City's Times Square just hours before the big night.
It's always been on her bucket list to go to New Year's Eve in Times Square. I hate crowds, but it's her bucket list. It was our 1-year anniversary, so we're making it work.
The New York Police Department has roughly 7,000 officers and heavily armed counterterrorism teams assigned to keep the crowds safe as they watch the ball drop. More than 200 police cars and sanitation trucks will block roadways to prevent a car driving into the crowds. And after the Las Vegas shooting last year, officers this year will be embedded inside surrounding hotels.
So that if you have something that occurs in a hotel, either before the event or during the event, you don't have to figure out, well, which hotel is it? How are we going to get people there?
For the first time, the NYPD will also have a drone keeping an eye on things from above. It will supplement the more than 1,200 fixed cameras in the area.
It gives us flexibility, visibility, and agility that you wouldn't have with another device.
The people that come here to Times Square to ring in the new year have to go through metal detectors. No backpacks, coolers, or umbrellas are allowed, and get this, no public restrooms either.
I would suggest like for diaper for an adult, so that would help, I guess.
So a diaper, do you have one?
That's a good question. I'll keep that discreet.
The NYPD stresses there is no specific credible threat to the annual celebration, but it is taking no chances. Tom Hansen, CBS News, Times Square, New York.
There you have it. In addition to everyone who watches the ball drop in person, Times Square officials estimate a worldwide audience of more than 1 billion people watching from home. If you are still deciding where to ring in the new year tonight, there's a new nightclub that's hoping to fill that entertainment void on Madison's east side. There's a grand opening tonight for The Crucible on Commercial Avenue. This is just off East Washington Avenue. The club posted these pictures of their new artwork on Facebook. It will also feature some darker genres of music, burlesque, cosplay, and drag shows. It has been a mass exodus of sorts in the NFL this morning. Within the last few hours, the Denver Broncos, Miami Dolphins, Cincinnati Bengals, and Arizona Cardinals all fired their head coaches. The Packers are among those looking for new leadership, and this morning, interim coach Joe Philbin explained that he has some confidence in that process.
Personally, and for the Green Bay Packers, again, I'm going to present who I am, what I believe in, what I feel I can do for the organization, and then it has to be a match for them. You know, I'm sure they have criteria that they want to have met, and if Joe Philbin meets those better than anybody else, then potentially, maybe I'll be the next head coach.
Philbin says he will spend the next few days evaluating and meeting with players following the 31-0 loss against the Lions to end out the season yesterday. Aaron Rodgers left the game with a concussion after just 5 pass attempts. Both Randall Cobb and Clay Matthews will be free agents in March if the Packers do not re-sign them. And within the last hour, the Badger men's basketball team dropped 7 spots to number 22 in the AP poll after losing to unranked Western Kentucky over the weekend. I know Chris Reese doing his little cheer for his alma mater. Duke remains at number 1, Michigan's number 2, Michigan State, Ohio State, Marquette, and Indiana are all ranked above Wisconsin right now. They are still above Iowa and Nebraska, though. The Badgers return to conference play on Thursday with a game against Minnesota at the Kohl Center. Coming up on your news at noon, let's see what Howard's working on in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
You probably have everything ready for tonight. But do you have a game plan for when everyone wakes up tomorrow? We have just the thing. No matter what you've got going on tonight, whether it's staying home for a quiet evening or you're planning on hosting or attending some sort of big bash, we have an idea to make sure that everyone wakes up to a Rise and Shine breakfast that's New Year's worthy. We start by combining some eggs and sour cream with a bit of onion powder and some salt and pepper. Now we whisk this together, and once it's smooth, we add all sorts of stuff. Some shredded hash browns, diced ham, broccoli florets, and a good amount of shredded cheddar cheese. We give it a good stir and pour this into a baking dish, and into the oven it goes. And since we use a bunch of freezer and refrigerated aisle shortcuts, it couldn't be easier. When this comes out of the oven and you serve this along with your breakfast favorites, everyone's gonna be smiling ear to ear. To get the recipe for what we call our Rise and Shine Breakfast Bake, all you have to do is visit our website. I'm Howard of the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a better breakfast way for you to say, ooh, it's so good. Have a happy and safe New Year.
Chris Reese is talking about an alert day with some factors that could make your drive a little dicey this New Year's Eve. That update's next, right here on News 3 at noon. Welcome back. There are some New Year's changes coming to the online portal that many of our healthcare providers use. Verona-based Epic Systems organizes digital health records for more than half of U.S. patients. The State Journal reports in addition to online records of hospital stays and clinic visits on the MyChart web portal, you'll also be able to see teeth cleanings, drugstore flu shots, and life insurance information. The goal for patients and providers is to be able to see all of the healthcare information in one place. All right, let's check out stocks at this noon hour. The Dow is up about 240 points this afternoon. The Nasdaq up about 48 points, so everything on the up and up for the last day of 2018 stock trading. And the S&P is up as well. Let's take a look now as Q106 Farm Director Pam Yankee is out of the radio barn again. Here are some of your farm numbers. Alrighty, if you're looking out to head out to bring in the new year, you should prepare for everything from freezing rain to snow, right, Chris?
That's right, Danica. In fact, we do have winter weather advisories in play for Madison, points to the north and east, along with points to the south and west. This is where we are looking at accumulations of 3 inches or perhaps even greater as we go through the next 12 to 24 hours. Now, outside, we have a very cold rain coming down right now, 33 degrees. 1 degree is all that matters sometimes to get things to be all range. And so that's what's falling outside at the moment. Temperatures a little bit warmer to the south, but just to the north, we are below freezing. That is where we are seeing the ice and the snow come down right now. Freezing rain, sleet, and snow all starting to take place to our north. Here in Madison and to the south and east, you are getting rain. That rain coming down at a good clip for a lot of folks. But even some of that heavier rain now starting to work its way in from the south. And really, this storm is coming together right on top of us, but the moisture goes all the way back through parts of southern Iowa. So we're going to be seeing at least some sort of precipitation around for at least the next 8 to 10, maybe even 12 hours around here, though it'll gradually get lighter. We're between two systems, a cold front to the north, a region of low pressure to the south, and these two systems are working together to bring the rain and the snow to our region. Here's how things will play out. 3 o'clock, expect some of that sleet to start to mix in with the rain as temperatures begin to drop. 2 hours later at 5 o'clock, that's when we'll see the snow really begin to fly across the area. As soon as you get that transition, it's going to snow pretty hard for at least a short amount of time. It always does that. When the rain switches over to snow, it comes down at a good clip. That's going to work its way towards the south and east. Here we are at 7 o'clock, still dealing with some of that snow around. I think the 4 to 7 o'clock time frame is when travel will be at its worst. Here's the deal. When you have rain before snow, you can't treat the roads. It washes all the salt, all the brine away. So the road crews have to play catch up. So do expect an ice up during that time frame. Once we get you towards about 9:30, you'll see the back edge of the snow coming in, tapering off towards flurries as we get you towards midnight. How much snow are we talking? We still have a little bit of a disagreement with the models, but they are coming into better agreement. This model is the most aggressive with 3 inches here in town, 6 inches towards the north, but even it shows 3 inches down south. And that's where I don't think I necessarily buy it. I think this model has a pretty solid handle on things. 3 inches here in town, greater snow totals towards the north and east, but right around less than an inch towards the south. And that's what I'm forecasting, up to an inch from Janesville as you work your way over towards Milwaukee, 1 to 3 inches here in the Madison area, and then 3 to 5 from the Dells up through Manitowoc and towards Green Bay. So of course we're going to be watching this one very closely. That is why we have an alert day. It's New Year's Eve. Lots of folks are going to be out. It's not the biggest storm, but people who are on the road who have maybe had a drink or two, of course it's icy. You just want to make sure that you take it very easy tonight. Cold to start the new year, gradually warming up, but by the time we get you towards next weekend, we could see our next chance. So snowflakes flying across the Badger State.
All right. Thank you, Chris, I think, at least. All right, there is more to come on News 3 at noon. Up next, Linda's here from the Bruce Company, taking your calls for plants and garden questions. The number to call, 270-9933. We'll be right back. Welcome back. All right, Linda Barch is here from the Bruce Company taking your plant and garden questions. The number to call, again, 270-9933. We'll get to as many of you as possible. But first up, we have Linda in Madison asking about some Christmas cacti, right? Linda, can you hear me? Let's see here. Might be, oh, let's hear. Oh, that's not sounding good. I apologize. This is my first time doing this. Linda's going to bear with me, too.
Sure.
Do you have any advice for that while we try to get the next person on?
Christmas cactus, typically the issue is that people don't have a problem getting them to repeat bloom. So if you have a southern window, that will work well. Otherwise, if you have the option of putting it outside underneath the shade of a tree and then bring it in before danger of frost, that really stimulates the flower buds developing and forming and putting on a show for you.
I would have never known. Great advice. All right, we got another Linda, I believe. Linda, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, and this is Linda in Edgerton, right?
Yes.
Go ahead and ask your question, Linda. Thanks for calling.
Sure. I have a bougainvillea that I got in 2014 that I keep inside when it's cold and put outside when it's warm. This time, when I brought it in, the leaves dropped, and I'm not sure what to do about it. I have some new green shoots coming and some new green leaves, but pretty much it's bare, so I didn't know what to do.
Well, bougainvillea can go through that cycle of leaf drop, and it's not a huge problem. It's nice that you're starting to see some new growth coming, because that means that you didn't let it dry out. Sometimes people, when they bring things inside, they forget about watering it, and then it dries out, and then that wood is actually not going to produce new foliage. But as long as you're seeing some new buds come, you're in good shape. It'll come back.
That's what we like to hear. Linda, thank you for your question, and we have time for probably one more here. We're getting to Rand in Madison. Rand, can you hear me? Rand, can you hear me over there?
Is it Randy you're looking for?
Oh, Randy, probably. Randy. Is this Randy then?
Yes, it is.
Great. Well, I apologize that I got your name wrong, Randy. So you're asking about your African violet plants, huh?
Yeah. I think perhaps it got overwatered, and so I'm letting it dry out. And the whole bunch of the bottom leaves are just drooping like crazy, but there's still a few in the middle that are good and viable, but did I kill it or what?
No, as long as the African violet grows from the center. So break off all those old, nasty-looking leaves that don't look good, and if it still looks acceptable, then it will come back. Sometimes, if you've overwatered, you have to take it out of the pot and knock off any excess roots that have died back. But take off the old leaves and let it for a bit.
Great.
Thank you, Linda, and thank you all for your calls. Sorry we couldn't get to all of you. Want to get one more check with Chris this afternoon. Hi, Chris.
Hello. Still an alert day. We're looking at 1 to 3 inches of snow as we go through tonight towards midnight here in Madison. Less than an inch as you work your way towards Janesville, over towards Milwaukee, kind of along that I-43 corridor. 3 to 5 inches from the Dells up towards Green Bay.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Stay safe. Have a great New Year's. I'll see you back here tomorrow.
Making plans that are weather dependent? Get an accurate 12-hour, even a 10-day forecast. Download the Channel 3000 First Alert Weather app and start planning.